So welcome everybody to episode 111 of Level Up, 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions, chat and votes really do drive the show. A warm welcome. Please do let our social team know your name and of course the city from where you're joining from. We do love to get everybody involved. I think it's Adriana today actually who's online, and she's going to post a link into the chat to vote up the questions that you would most like answered by the panel, and of course for you to add your own. And if your question is selected, then your name will appear in the credits at the end of the show. So do get yours in early and stay with us to see all of that happen. If you can, just take a moment to like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And of course, it really does help new folks to discover our content. We'd be truly grateful. During a recession, securing our futures as individuals, teams and as organizations becomes pretty critical. Certifications provide a key differentiator, demonstrating to customers the quality of the team and, of course, the values of our organisation in practice. Here at APMG, we often see an increase in demand for key qualifications when a recession begins to bite, and this time round is no different. To discuss this key topic, we have a great panel. So let's jump across and meet them straight away. Tanja van den Akker is the Managing Director of Forsa Advies, a leading training, coaching and consulting organisation over in the Netherlands. Passionate, I think it's fair to say, about helping her clients achieve their full potential. Tanja brings her experience in projects, programmes, portfolio and change management to her work every day. Welcome to Level Up, Tanja. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Nick. It's great to be here with such a wonderful panel, and I'm looking forward to a great session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much indeed. Joining Tanja today is Shontelle Bryan. She's also the Managing Director, but this time over at Change Consult here in the UK. Working predominantly with corporate executives, Shontelle helps them turn their vision into reality through transformational change. Holding an MBA from Durham, Shontelle celebrates with her clients when they adopt the leading practice from her change management coaching and training programs. Welcome back to Level Up, Shontelle. Lovely to see you.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here again today.
Okay, excellent. And joining us from a somewhat misty and murky London this morning. So welcome finally to some winter weather. Stephan Brendel returns today. He is, of course, the APMG Regional Lead for Europe and Latin America, where he works with a very large number of diverse channel partners across many different business cultures. A regular speaker and contributor to so many different membership organizations and bodies, Stephan uses his experience, particularly in business relationship management, to achieve outstanding results. Welcome back to Level Up, Stephan.
Hello, Nick, and thanks for inviting me to this session, which is all dedicated to a very important topic. I'm really looking forward with the panel.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Giving up some of his Sunday, I was about to say evening, but it's more like the middle of the night, really, I think. Sunday night time is Mart Rovers. He is, of course, the president of INTERPROM, where he focuses on educating and coaching leaders. Mart shares a background, actually, with Stephan in service management and business relationship management, and has guided many of his clients through numerous economic cycles. So welcome back to Level Up, Mart.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, everybody, for having me. I look forward to another great session. Starting off with a mind teaser. That's okay. Every dollar spent on training saves you $2 on advertising. Not my quote, somebody said it. So maybe a nice lead into what you just stated.
Okay, it's a really interesting one. We may well explore that a little bit later on. I'm going to make a note of that one, I think. Sounds good to me. Dieter Strasser completes our panel. He is the Managing Director, Trainer and Coach over at Viable Projects, where he pays great attention to the structures for both people and for organizations. Describing himself as a champion against dogma, he seeks to help his clients improve performance through lean methods, and does it with such a relaxed, confident manner. Who could fail not to follow his leadership advice? Welcome back to Level Up, Dieter. Lovely to see you.
Good morning. Austria is calling. And yes, I'm really glad to be a part of this great audience and panel. Thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic. So we've got many countries represented today and 2 fabulous continents as well. Completing the group today is our question master, who is, of course, Shanice, who's joining us from South Wales here in the UK. Shanice, did you have a good weekend?
I did, yes, thank you. It seems to fly past, but Monday's always my favourite because Level Up's on, so get there even quicker.
All right. Okay. Well, it's certainly a great way to start your working week. That's certainly true. And Shanice might be not joking actually about flying past, because it was quite windy actually in Wales this weekend. So well done for staying firmly on the ground. All right. Now, very good. I can see lots of folks already joined us across social media. So fantastic to have you. Idara, lovely to see you there. And also Rezk as well. Joining us from Paris. So really, really nice. So do let us know your name and also the city from where you're joining. So without further ado, let's jump straight in, Shanice, if we may, and have our first question, please.
Of course, thanks, Nick. So we've got a question from Chris Jones. Why is it important to be certified as opposed to just learning the material?
Okay, excellent. Tanja, why don't you start us off and then we'll hear from Dieter.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, it's important to learn the materials. And as a trainer, if I have to choose between the two, I would want you to learn the actual topics. But it's difficult to demonstrate that you have understood it without an exam. So you can, if it's for a job interview, you're not going to question and interview 100 people to see if they have gotten the contents of Agile PM, for instance. So an exam is a nice test for yourself to see if you've understood the topics, and for employers or principals of projects, it's an easy way to see if you've mastered it.
Okay, it's a really good point, that, isn't it? It's about kind of what I'm taking from that is this concept of kind of packaging that up and making it more accessible to others, particularly when they're looking for, to populate different roles in an organization. So excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Tanja. Dieter, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Stephan.
I was responsible invigilator for more than 3,500 exams. And what I often saw is that people are going more for superficial behavior. And if you have an exam ahead, you avoid any superficial behavior. You go in depth. You want to learn. You want to understand it seriously. And it was the same to me often in some frameworks too. And so I always recommend to go ahead and try an exam and do what Tanja also recommended.
Yeah, it's a good point, isn't it? If you start with the end in mind, then your behavior during that teaching and learning as a student will be different. I think that's very true. If you take it seriously, that it has, a consequence at the end of it, then you're going to give it your full attention, I guess. All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Stephan and then Mart.
Well, we heard from these 2 trainers. I can just confirm that from a candidate's point of view, because I just very recently finished and completed an exam as a rainmaker. I can make rain now for inside selling. And I'm pretty sure if I hadn't had the obstacle to overcome that there is an exam to prove my knowledge, I wouldn't have done all the learning which was needed. I probably would have just scratched the surface. But this way I went deeper, and it's always a good experience. And by the way, this wasn't not a trainer, guys. This was self-study. So self-study is without guidance, unless you try to find some. But I can just say it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I joined in that little experiment with Stephan, everybody. And so we thought, let's roll up our sleeves mentally and see if we could kind of self-study. And then we put ourselves forward, to take these examinations. And it was quite an interesting thing as adults, to place ourselves into that position, So we might come back to that and that kind of feeling of concentrating the mind in a few minutes. March, your thoughts, please, and then Shontelle.
Your certificate is simply a matter, you can show credibility. You can say I attended a course and then, okay, so what? Once you have certificate, especially when you think of these courses where you learn the how-to and you get case-based questions, scenario-based questions during an exam for 2.5 hours. When you earn a certificate like that, you can show actual credibility as a few things because you learned a few things. Because just learning the material, you might as well maybe read a book or something. I don't see the value there.
Okay, thank you so much. Shontelle, final thoughts on this?
I agree with everything the panelists has said, but in addition, gaining a certification also gives you confidence in your role. So APMG just recently did a survey about change management foundation certification, and it was reported that persons who took that certification, 97% of those individuals felt more confident in their role. So a certification can give you confidence and help you to perform a lot better on the job.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Shontelle. The release of endorphins, I think, is the technical term for it. But that feeling of elation when you achieve something, when you accomplish something, you get it in a fast and furious manner when you're little, when you're growing up, because you're achieving many new things all of the time, right? But as an adult, that kind of slides away a little bit and it falls away into the background. And so we challenge ourselves perhaps through exercise or through sport or going to the gym or, mentally by doing crossword puzzles and so on and so on. But it's a fantastic feeling. And it does really boost that confidence to think, yes, not only did I imagine that I understood this, but actually somebody else has also validated that working assumption. So absolutely right. What a great question to start us off. Thank you so much, Chris. I think it was from, wasn't it? Very good indeed. Shanice, please, let's move on if we can take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question from Jodie. How do I best pitch to my manager the need for training, even during a recession?
Okay, so pitching to your manager. Now, it's a good question here because often people are being funded by their organisations. Dieter, why don't you start us off and then we'll hear from Tanja next.
Without any emotion, I am always recommend to depict the benefits and the disadvantages, and also to talk about the zero option. What happens if you don't undertake it? And I always recommend also that knowledge can be a little difference to get success or not.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Really, really good point. Well made there. Thank you so much. Tanja, your thoughts, please, and then Stephan.
Yeah, sorry. In this case, we are already in a recession, but in the Dutch market, we see that there are more vacancies than people searching for jobs. So currently here, organizing valid and relevant trainings with certifications is actually a way of binding your staff to your company and rewarding them for being with you and contributing to your company's goals. So it's a particular recession that we're dealing with right now here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's an excellent point actually to make as well. It's completely relevant just right now. Stephan, your thoughts, please, and then Shontelle.
There's one thing that a recession always implies, and that is change. So it's the same like when we had with the 2 years of the pandemic, there was change. I recently read in LinkedIn Learning Report that there's a drop of 22% of budget constraints. So people have less budget constraints for training, which is a clear trend showing that this has been understood because we're talking about the change that we all experienced through the pandemic, and now with this consequence as a recession. If I go to the manager and say, well, I think when there's a change, we might need different skills, otherwise we're out of business. the next time. We have to change the business. We have to change ourselves. That's why there is no better investment. Like Mart said earlier, invest $1, get 2 back. Yeah, or maybe just stay in business if you do.
Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you so much. Shontelle and then Mart.
Okay, so I just want to expand on what Dieter had mentioned. He spoke about the benefits of the certification, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And those benefits could be benefits to the business. So how does this certification help the organization to grow its business? How does this certification help the organization to keep existing business? So being able to identify the opportunities that the certification will bring in terms of benefits, I think can be really helpful when you're pitching the need for certification during a recession.
That's a really good point as well. Thank you so much indeed. And Mart, your thoughts?
Building on Stephan's remark when he was talking about different skills, especially during a time of recession, it's important to invest time in client relationships, invest in strategic partnerships. So investing in those skills, for example, through what the BRM Institute is putting forward, business relationship management skills, I think that's a way to convince your manager, as in, isn't that important? Shouldn't we all beef up in that area?
Yeah, securing those customers through not what you do, but how you do it becomes increasingly important. Otherwise you're just simply trading on a much lower level of value proposition, and competitors can always undercut you on price. They might not be around after the recession, but at the beginning, they can always undercut you on price. So be prepared for that and make sure that your value proposition is so much stronger. I think the other thing to bear in mind as well is that managers spend a lot of time trying to forecast the future. Okay, they produce reports. They're often responsible in organizations for contributing to reporting. And one of the things that everybody is looking for there is certainty. What does the future actually look like? Okay, and I think part of the value proposition as an individual contributor is to think about your manager and think about what do they need. If they need better performance, if they need better outcomes, if they need security of that future, then you can offer them that. And it's part of the education, training and certification lifecycle that actually is going to help to deliver that and make a difference to you, your team, and to your organization. Very good. Let's have a look over on social. It's fantastic to see so many people. Idara, thank you so much for joining us today. Lovely to see you. And Resk as well from the city of Paris. Lovely to see you online. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got Valerie also joining in from London here in the UK, sharing our November weather with you. And Francis, I'm afraid, my friend, the UK will gift you this weather tomorrow. I think that's highly likely, isn't it, as it kind of blows across the North Sea. All right. Very good indeed. And also Sela from Lesotho. So brilliant to have you online as well. So thank you so much for joining. That's a city actually which has not come up before. So really good to see you joining from Lesotho. Excellent. Thank you so much indeed. Very good. Let's move on, if we can, please, Shanice, and take our next question.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nick. We've actually just had a live question come in from Diane. High demand jobs may be obsolete after a recession. So how can I choose the most relevant certification?
Well, that's a really good question. It's one that often comes up, isn't it, about planning your careers. Do you go for something which is popular now, or do you go for something which is going to augment your skills into the future? So choosing the most relevant, I think, is going to depend a little bit to your circumstances. Mart, start us off on this one, please.
Well, with recession or not, for example, in the security space, that remains a challenge, not for just a recession. So if you seek a career in that space, information security, cybersecurity, you'll be fine. And the other one is anything that has to do with cloud or anything that has to do with data. I mean, those are two other areas that will be recession-proof.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Cloud and data. So there's two votes heading us, certainly from an IT career point of view, in a particular direction. Tanja, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, this is a difficult one, but I think it's best not to run behind the fashion of the moment and try and figure out who you are, what you're good at, and what you can contribute to the world. And most of the time, there will be some sort of variety of jobs that will remain, particularly when you love what you do. So I would not recommend running behind what's hot and happening right now, but do some soul searching and try and build a strong profile for that. So get the certifications that are relevant to that particular position. Try and get as much practical experience as you can, even with traineeships if you don't get the job right away. And try and build up a logical resume rather than hoarding certificates in all sorts of topics, because an employer is looking for some consistency in your profile. I think that's best.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Dieter, you were really agreeing with what has already been shared. What are your thoughts on this one?
I also want to pick up on something what Tanja said to us. Be honestly what you want for yourself. Maybe you want certainty. Maybe you want a short-term income. Maybe you want a long-term employment. Whatever you need, and think what's really asked for in the future also, which skills are needed, and then have a look around and choose what you want to go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. One thing about planning our careers, there are certain trends which are unassailably true now. Okay, and please do bear these in mind. Firstly, it's likely that we will have a portfolio career. And what do I mean by that? Is that our role is likely to evolve over a period of time. So the advice so far, which is absolutely true, be true to yourself and choose things which you're passionate about. Because when you combine passion with aptitude, and that aptitude becomes experience, wow, that's a powerful thing to be able to have on anybody's CV. It just shines out like a beacon. So absolutely do that. And secondly, I would say, look at the direction of travel. Okay, that there is. You can always become a niche specialist if your talent is on a technology which is rare. Okay, you can certainly do that, but it's unlikely to fulfill your human aspiration for a very long period of time. Whereas if you're actually looking to the direction of travel in your industry, in your particular functional area, and you're following those trends, then I think you have a bright and long future ahead of you. Shontelle, your thoughts on this? You help a lot of people cope with tremendous change. What would you suggest at this moment of truth for folks who are watching today?
I think a change certification would be ideal because organizations are going through tremendous change constantly, and the recession is the same. So, for example, being a change agent within your space can help you to recession-proof your CV as well as add value to the organization. So you may be an accountant, and a very good accountant, and a very nice person as well. But having that change agent skill could also help you to build your resume a little bit more, help you to be a little bit more recession-proof, add value to the organization as well. And it's where the world is going, because everything is centered around change. So that's just a quick tip of an area that you could possibly be involved in.
It's a really good one as well, because we do tend to think of ourselves in these functional silos, oh, what do you do for a living? I'm an accountant, and that somehow defines us. Or actually, I'm a change agent, suggests that you're part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Stephan, your thinking, please.
Just want to recall what Mart said earlier. In a recession and also after recession, you have to secure your clients, your customers. And that's where the business relationship management, I think, plays a key role with the skills you learn there. So that's something to learn. Second one is, why did I do the rainmaker? I mean, this is about inside selling. This is to sell something where nobody wants to sell, or wants to buy something, right? This is about seller and buyer relationship. It's an important qualification in a recession to make people aware, to learn all the active communication skills you need. Of course, there's a lot of practice, but that's why. That's why I picked this one and not another project or anything else. Yeah, very specific qualification.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. And augmenting our skill sets with these key things to become an agent for change, to be able to crystallize people's vision into future value, which is part of that rainmaker concept, being able to help people visualize not just where they are now, but actually the increased value of where they want to be in the future. So beneficial to all organizations. So excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Diane, for posting that question online. Fantastic question. It really got us thinking as a panel, and hopefully it's given you some food for thought as well. Very good. Shanice, let's move on if we can, please, and we'll take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question from Jane in Manchester. Would you say that the best skills to be certified in a recession for are flexibility, project management, and communication skills?
Okay, well, flexibility is often one of those things which we're asked for, isn't it, by organizations? Can you do more with less? Can you go the extra mile? Can you do all of these different things? So it's definitely a behavior. It's a trait that is looked for in so many different professions, isn't it? If you had to pick and prioritize, panel, what would be your thinking around those project management and communication skills? Mart, start us off.
I'll build on Stephan. So we're tossing the ball here. So no, definitely communication. I would pick up these three. I think that's going to be helpful through the recession, after the recession. It's something that you will carry with you for life.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Stephan, your hand was also raised.
Yeah, absolutely agree on communication. Yeah, I'm not sure how I can certify flexibility. Because there's never an end, you know? Yeah, maybe, but there's never an end to being flexible. So I don't know if that's a good certification. I'm not sure. Communication.
Well, yeah, it's a good point, isn't it? Really, I remember as a child, the ruler for measuring that I used in school had shatterproof written on it. Okay, so you could bend it without it actually breaking. Now, I'm sure there is a human equivalent. Perhaps it's more to do with resilience than it is to being shatterproof in that sense. Tanja, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Dieter.
Yeah, I think Shontelle will agree with me on this one. I guess flexibility and ability to change are quite aligned to each other. And you can certify in change management, Stephan. So maybe that solves the puzzle.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Dieter and then Shontelle.
I only want to bring in one idea, one thought for the project management part. I think we are living in very complex times, and a recession is also a time of uncertainty. And it's always good to have the skills to lead and guide people around without behave as a rabbit, and to have some concrete skills to plan and go ahead and bring in some more certainty and be quiet and bring in some success around. And so it's good if it's project management or program management or anything else. It's certainly a recommendation.
It's these kind of, if you like, horizontal skills which are going to underpin and support you in a whole variety of different circumstances during a recession, which are so vital, and they really do add a lot of value to you. Shontelle, final thoughts on this, please.
So I'm a little bit biased here, and I agree with the panel about having change management skills during a recession, vitally important, and is something that the organization can benefit from.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much indeed. And that's so important, isn't it? Focusing on benefits. Who is going to benefit? Why are you learning this, and what are the benefits that are likely, to come from that? There are different skills, I would suggest, and a different emphasis on managing a business through a strong market, through a bull market where everything is on the up and more customers appear on your doorstep, kind of every day, to those skills which are required to manage a business carefully through leaner, more challenging, more difficult times. So let's jump over to social and see what's happening over there. Solani, thank you so much for joining us from South Africa. Really great to have you today. And also Vili, I think, who is joining from Joburg as well. Lovely city there. We have Wandimo from Ethiopia. Great to have you online. And also thank you so much for contributing into the chat as well, as we're seeing those conversations developing. And we also have Hanan, who's joining from Manchester, great city in the UK, actually close to where I grew up as well. So welcome from the northwest of the UK, assuming that it's Manchester, UK, and not Manchester over in the US. I had to make that assumption there for a moment, Hanan, but I'm kind of guessing that unless you're an insomniac like Mart, okay, you're joining us from the UK. All right, very good. Thank you so much indeed. And also, just to welcome Tosin from Nigeria as well. And apologies to all the residents of Lesotho, where I downgraded an entire country to a city earlier on. My humble apologies. Of course, wonderful to have you all online. All right, excellent. Now, let's move on, if we can, Shanice, please, and take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question from Chris Jones. Isn't education important all the time? Why is it important in a recession?
Okay, all right. Dita enthusiastically off the mark there. So why don't you start us off, and then we'll hear from Tanja.
Love this question. Thank you very much, really. Yes, of course, education is important all the time. But maybe think if some of your knowledge is outdated, and be honestly to answer this question. And you can switch your situation, use your maybe more available time, and prepare yourself for the next times, and go ahead and go for some trainings and get the next certifications.
Really good point. It's all about that relevance, isn't it? And just thinking about, when did you actually last give yourself that injection of thinking? Are you as up to date as you might have thought that you were? Tanja, your thoughts, please, and then Stephan.
Yeah, I agree that training and certifying is important all of the time. And you will find additional value during recessions when particularly the labor market is in a way that there are more people looking for a job than there are actual jobs. But it's to fix the roof when it's not raining. You need to keep on investing in yourself, keep on building your profile throughout, and then you get the yields, particularly during a recession when you've already done the work.
Yeah, thank you so much indeed. It's quite important, that, isn't it, to make sure that you have value in all of the economic cycles that we go through. Stephan, and then Shontelle.
Yeah, I want to comment on the first part of the question, and it's a yes. But we should not forget that there was, in previous generations, you have one education, maybe made a master degree and you studied for years for that, and then you went to one company and you stayed there until you retired. I mean, I still know people in my generation who are working with the same company after university, but I know by myself, if I had studied computer science in the 80s, when I started working with IBM, I wouldn't have survived that job, because computer science was completely different at that time than what the market really wanted. So we are now probably in even my generation, and we are more at the end of the working life, if we hadn't done education and looking for new skills that we need, we wouldn't have survived in our jobs, because it is not it's not the same thing anymore. You don't stay with one organization. You maybe evolve with an organization. Maybe the organization looks completely different when you're helping to change it, or you do this somewhere else. And that's why education is important all the time, which includes a recession.
Thank you very much indeed. And Shontelle?
I absolutely agree that education is important all of the time. We can look at education through the lens of learning. We can also look at it through the lens of self-development. And what the motivational gurus, past and present, would say is that self-development is extremely important. They put it in the priority list whereby individuals should have healthy meals, they should have daily exercise, they should get daily fresh air, as well as self-development. So it is a practice that should be continuous. And I absolutely agree with the panel. Just like how you plan to live your life, you should plan for self-development as well. And that should continue throughout the recession to give you more leverage.
Yeah, it's certainly true, isn't it? It's a very old-fashioned phrase that, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And we've all been in those moments. We've all been in a meeting where we kind of reflect on it afterwards and we think, oh, I should have said X, Y, or Z, or I should have thought about it this way, or oh, look at it that way, And this is what continuous professional development is really all about. It's about those micro moments, those baby steps, if you like, those little moments of truth that help you to learn, how do you do that better? How can I improve my personal best? Yeah. So really good points. Thank you so much, panel. Mart, your thoughts, please.
Just a quote. Once somebody said, the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle. And take that from a broader perspective.
Okay, it's certainly true that the coach is usually the person at the side. They're immaculately dressed, wearing. I'm thinking of a sporting analogy now. Okay, the coach is immaculately dressed. They're wearing the team tracksuit or the team colours in some fashion or another. It's the athlete who's exhausted. Okay, it's the athlete who's exhausted because they're the people who are trying and listening to the coach and putting the coach's advice, into practice and making sure that they become, to your point, Mart, fit and purposeful. All right, excellent. Very good, panel. Thank you so much. Now then, we've got loads of people online today, technical term. It's a very large group who are online, so thank you for watching. If you've got a question, then just type it into the chat. Adriana is busy having conversations, both on LinkedIn and on YouTube today. So whichever platform you're on, type your question into the chat, and then we'll bring it into the panel. In the meantime, Shanice, let's move on, please, and take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. We do have a live question that's just come in from Charlotte in Reading. Is change not the best certification to achieve based on the current conditions, as change will be required in every industry/sector for all?
Okay, so that's quite a leading question. So I'm probably going to come to Tanja, if I'm our two change management experts. So I'm going to ask Tanja first, and then I'll come to Shontelle next. All right, Tanja, start us off. What are your thoughts?
Of course, I fully, wholeheartedly agree with this question. And there are several studies saying that change doesn't go faster than it did before, but certainly we feel like that, and it's difficult dealing with that. And with social media and internet, you get a lot of signals coming in, and you need to try and make sense of that. So I think change can help you see the overall process of what is happening and how you can contribute to that, how you can help yourself go through a change. So I totally agree. There's one thing that I would like to add, and having a certification in change management. I see a lot of companies that issue their own exams and their own certificates. And as a training company, we aim for an internationally recognized and independent certification, which I feel will have a lot more value. If I am training people and then I make their exam and I issue my own certificate, I have my doubts of that particular value, but I see it a lot in the market. So I would recommend looking for independent certificates.
I think that's really relevant, okay? Kodak for many years did a lot of internal education and training, okay? But you wouldn't necessarily say that, Kodak was qualified, all right, to be able to talk about how do you manage commercial change in a global market. Let's put it that way. Okay, so very good. Good points, well made. Shontelle, your thoughts, please, and then Dieter.
I agree as well. Change management is definitely an excellent certification to do in these current conditions. But it's not only good for the recession, it is good in times of feast and in times of famine, because change is here to stay. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So having a certification such as a Change Management Foundation, Change Management Practitioner, or even a Change Agent course can help the organization through the changes it's facing now, as well as the changes to come, because we can't foretell the future, and there's going to be lots of things that are going to be different in a few years to come. So it's definitely a good certification to invest in for the longevity of the organization.
Thank you so much, Dieter.
Let me open the bracket. I think we should not only think on change, we should think on the human behind all the work and in general. And change is one thing, behavior management is another thing, and there are plenty of recommendations around. Let us focus on the people behind the work, and the people are the crucial factors.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Dieter. And from my own experience, I would echo that you need to look to those things which you feel are going to be adding to your strength at this moment. Okay, a few of us would end up being the person who is leading transformational change. By definition, in an organization, the number of those people who are leading is relatively small. The number of people, though, who become those agents for change, whether you take a change management qualification at a foundation level, or whether you actually take the dedicated, course around becoming an agent for change, those people, they're many, they're numerous in organizations. And it's that body of opinion, that working together, that how we integrate and elevate each other and amplify the positive things about our organizations that make such a difference. When we were in the dark days of the pandemic, you saw certain organizations stepping forward, and it was the cohort, it was everybody working together that achieved those remarkable outcomes. It was not one individual, it was the team. And so really do give that some consideration. So thank you very much indeed for your question, Charlotte. Great question. Let's move on, please, Shanice, if we can, and take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question from Jane in Manchester. Does a long-term career path with demonstrable beneficial certification help retain employee commitment during a recession?
I think undoubtedly it absolutely does. One of the things that companies often talk about are their purpose. They go online and they market themselves and they talk about, the purpose, the reason for them being in existence. And they also talk about their values as an employer and what they're trying to do, both inside for their own employees and also for their clients. So it's a really, really important part of demonstrating those values to see that through during a recession. Dieter, your thoughts, please.
In this case, a short answer only, yes, it does, but please always consider appropriate reinforcement. Do it, be by your employee, and give him or her appropriate feedback.
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? That you don't just simply keep on promoting people on the basis that they've achieved a certain learning path, within your internal career framework, that you do actually have validation of that. I know some very large telecoms organizations. I'm just going to pick one out here. Vodafone. Vodafone have done some really good work in their internal university, and they've externalized a lot of that. So you just Google online, you can see the work that the folks in learning and development have done within Vodafone to crystallize what does good engineering look like, what does good data analysis look like, what does good financial planning and risk management and mitigation look like. They've done really, really good work on that. And that's available to so many different people now through some of the podcasts and also some of the presentations that they've done. So just worthwhile having a look at different industries. Excellent. Very good. Thank you very much indeed, Jane, for your question. Shanice, if we can, I think we've got time possibly for 2 more questions, something along those lines. So let's move ahead.
Thanks, Nick. We've just had a live question from a LinkedIn viewer, Shivaram Swashroop. How do you look for opportunities in present field and also indicate to employers that we are open for a career shift?
All right. Well, great question, Shiv. I'm going to shorten your name if that's okay, my friend. So thank you for submitting it to us. I think one of the things that it can be a real challenge, actually, particularly if you're an independent, consultant or you're working in the contractor space. People want to hire you for what you've done immediately before. So if you're a business analyst, they want to hire you to be a business analyst again and again. And again, so breaking out of that and into a new role can be somewhat of a challenge. So I would say one of the first thoughts that I would have for you is try and volunteer somehow into a role that allows you to demonstrate that you are actually capable of broadening your career and moving into that new thing. It doesn't have to be in the voluntary sector, but of course you can use that. It doesn't have to be in work, it can be out of work. But if you're volunteering inside your organization, that gives you kudos internally as well, and also potentially referenceability. Stephan, your thoughts, please.
I just very briefly want to pick up on what Tanja has said earlier, that there's some consistency. So it doesn't make sense when you say you've done project management or even little changes, and then you think you do in IT. So there has to be some consistency, and I think that opens the mind for career shift much more, because it's the ability and the willingness of you to change, work on your skills, but do this serious with some consistency.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Tanja, your thoughts?
Yeah. I guess Stephan more or less kicked half of my head already.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Some time ago, I had somebody on the phone, and he wanted to make a move from a job in hospital, medical job, to ICT. He said, I did some projects and I joined them, and I like it so much. I want to move forward into an ICT career. And I spoke to him for a long time and several times. And we had discussions like this. Can you take a traineeship? Is there maybe something that you're doing in your spare time that can show your interest in this work? Maybe you want to build a website on your free time to show that you're interested in that type of work. So perhaps you should consider having a little less pay in your next job to start off in a maybe slightly lower level job and learn the ropes. Invest in what you want to do.
Yeah, that personal investment is such an important part of it, isn't it? It's like, I wasn't thinking about, careers when I was young. People painted this picture that a career was a linear journey, that somehow you started off here and then you moved from being, it was 100 years ago. So in those days, you were called a junior programmer, and then you became I don't know what you were in the middle, actually, a programmer. Media. And then you became a senior programmer or a principal programmer. So it was a linear direction. Careers are like snakes and ladders. They are like spaghetti in a bowl. They are complicated with twists and turns and different flavors at every moment. And some of the most interesting people that I have met and worked with have careers like that. They're non-linear. They are remarkable people who have embraced opportunity and invested in themselves throughout. One consideration for you, okay, is to think about your network. Okay, who are you connected with? Now, on the panel, we publish our links to our LinkedIn profiles on the APMG International website. So you can go to apmginternational.com and you can find us under events, and you can click on the little link which will take you to every panelist's biography on LinkedIn. And by all means, connect with us. All right, connect with us, join our networks, because it's your network that can often bring you these new opportunities. Mart, your thoughts on this? How can you seek opportunities in the current climate and also indicate to others that you're open to a change in career?
Definitely build on that, Nick, indeed. If I just pick one, like LinkedIn, which has numerous groups you can associate yourself with, assuming that's your passion, let's say organization development or business relation management, or there's so many out there that you can choose from. I think it starts with this question, as in, what is your purpose? Your personal purpose. What is your passion? And then build your network around that to get associated with these groups or these organizations. Maybe even become a member of these organizations that usually are behind these groups, and become active in those organizations. Start working with people, communicating with people, that share the same passion as you have. And once you build up your knowledge, your network, it may be much easier for you to convince your employer that you're ready for a shift based on what you already have accomplished. Some people that attend my classes, they pay out of their own pocket just simply because they are ready for a change, and show that in that way to their employer, hey, I'm investing in my future. There's maybe a chance in my organization I can do something in the same space. So definitely all based on their own ability to network. And networking these days, I mean, it's never been so easy. So you miss out if you don't do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Mart. Very good. I think we can squeeze in one last question if we're super fast. Shanice, final question for today, please.
Thanks, Nick. We've got a question from Kevin in Reading. Will certifications give me any edge over others during a recession?
Okay, so do they act as a differentiator in real life? Stephan?
Well, I think it's not the collection of digital badges and certifications. To get an edge over others during recession is the behavior. I think Dieter mentioned that. And it's the passion that you can demonstrate. Like you said,
very
the
much.
investment in yourself.
Okay, thanks so much indeed. Shontelle, briefly, and then Tanja.
I absolutely agree. It's the entire package that's going to give you the edge, and certifications can help you through that first step with a recruiter to get you onto the second stage of the interview. So it definitely helps you to get an edge when you look at the entire package of what you bring to the table.
Thank you very much indeed. Tanja, final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to add to what already has been said, which I totally agree with. But as Shontelle said, it's to get you through the first step. Bear in mind that often, if there's a large pile of candidates for a certain job, it's the first selection is on buzzwords, and buzzwords often are related to certifications. So if you have the right ones for the job that you're looking for, this will help you to the next round.
It's certainly true. Thank you very much indeed. What a great question to kind of end on. And I would say there as well, that it's actually all about looking at frequency of this kind of stuff. All right. If you don't invest in your network and then suddenly you need a network, it's a bit too late. All right. If you don't invest in your continuous professional development and then suddenly you need to demonstrate an aptitude for something a little bit different and a little bit new, it's a bit too late. So these kinds of things are best done in small steps, okay, constantly. The frequency and the recency of new learning demonstrates something to me. As a hiring manager, if somebody has not invested in themselves for the last 5 years, I'm kind of going to question, are they ready, okay, to reinvest in themselves now? Whereas a candidate who has a demonstrable track record of doing that, it's a different matter. Very good. Well, thank you so much indeed. It's been an amazing show. Let's go around the panel. Here are our closing remarks. So, Mart, your final thoughts on today, please.
Great show. Thank you, everybody, for the great questions. I want to finish with one quote that talks about confidence comes from discipline and training. In other words, make sure you have a mindset of being a lifelong learner.
Thank you very much indeed. Having that mindset, so important. Stephan, final thoughts, please.
Thanks, Mart, for picking my words with the lifelong learning. I absolutely agree with you. Nick, I really enjoyed this today. The topic was great, and it gave me also the feeling of that how living a certification actually can be in combination with what you're doing on a very personal.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Dieter, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Shontelle.
We can really be so grateful to have such a broad portfolio of accessible knowledge. Use it and be always yourself.
Thank you very much indeed. And Shontelle and then Tanja.
Really excellent session today. Loved the questions. Came to the panel. I know that recession can bring lots of fear and anxiety to individuals, but self-development and continuous self-development can help lessen those fears during a recession.
Thank you very much indeed. Tanja, your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I think it was Panelists who said, be your own trainer and be convinced that you can learn anything. And I would like to add those words.
Excellent. What a lovely way to summarize that. Be your own trainer. Listen to that small voice, the quiet voice inside, which is often the most authentic one. Really good advice. Thank you very much indeed. Shanice, it's been an eclectic journey today. We've had a huge amount of interaction from our colleagues who have been online across LinkedIn and also on YouTube. I think Adriana's going to need to lie down in a dark room for a few moments to gather her breath somewhat. Your reflections on today?
It's been really great, this episode today. As an undergrad student myself, it's just enforced that realization that this is a long-term path for me and most probably thousands of students watching this. So thank you so much, panelists. I've really taken a lot away.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. And I don't know how you do it, actually, personally, Shanice. You manage to fit in, you weave your study in and out through the fabric of your life, okay, which is a fantastic thing to do. I am much more the start and the stop kind of guy, all right, when it comes to that, rather than the constant drip, drip, drip. So I am in admiration of you. Very good. Well, thank you very much indeed. On behalf of everybody who's been watching online, thank you so much, panel, for sharing your thoughts with everybody today. I'd like also to thank our audience, of course. You are our producers. You've put forward some excellent questions today. Great job. And do watch out for your name in the credits if your question was selected. All right, so let's look ahead a little bit. Over on our website, you can search for the answers to more than 1,500 now questions that have been previously answered in Level Up and other of the APMG podcasts and our midday mentor events and connect events and so on. Don't forget that you can also listen to the audio version of this show and every show on your preferred podcast platform. Just search for APMG International. Level up your career. Looking forward, this Friday on the 18th, we're going to explore project techniques to help you deliver twice the value in half of the time. It sounds incredible, but actually it's really doable, if that's a real word. So do join us for that. And then we're going to dive into the world of the project management office and talk about and explore how to become a PMO specialist with you on Monday the 21st. A little further forward now into December, on Monday the 12th and Friday the 16th, we're going to be having our Christmas special shows, which is your opportunity to really get to know some of the panelists a little bit more and get some sneak peeks even behind the scenes of Level Up. So do put that in your calendar and join us. Subscribe to the show, and of course, we will send you a personal summary of what's coming up here on Level Up and how you can join us here on the panel and, of course, level up your career with APMG. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye now.